Decorate your sugar cookies with these little penguins or with these happy snowmen.
Let's see what's cooking. It's time for Yo-Yo Max 12.
Hello everyone. The base for these particular cookies is a sugar cookie recipe that I've made many times before, and that's what you're seeing on your screen right now. I will put the recipe in the description box as well as a link to a video where I actually make this dough. What's great about this dough is that once you bake it, it hardly spreads at all and it holds its shape very, very well and doesn't even change color very much. So it's perfect for cutout cookies. So I rolled the dough out between sheets of parchment paper to about 1/4 inch thick, and then I cut out the dough. I use these large squares for the little snowman cookies, and I cut out some circles for the penguins. And as a matter of fact, I also cut out circles when I made the faceplant Santas, which I also made on the same day. I transfer that dough onto a cookie sheet, put it in the freezer for about half hour or so. The dough firms up and it's very easy to pull those little squares out and put them on a cookie sheet for baking. You bake these at 350 degrees for about 15 minutes or so until they're just the tiniest bit light brown. Now I'm making some royal frosting, which is powdered sugar, meringue powder, and some water. And you blend that together and you keep adding water until you get the consistency of frosting that you want. Runnier or less runny, however you want to do it. This is also the same recipe that I used when I make the icing to glue my gingerbread houses together. I will also put a recipe in the description box for the exact amounts if you're interested. So once I made the frosting, I added a little bit of blue because we're going to make the penguins first. Just enough blue to get kind of like a sky blue. And then I transferred this into a piping bag with a writing tip. So I wanted the penguins to look like they were skating on a pond. So I made an irregular shape first around the edge and then I filled it in. Now you can use the writing tip for the edge and you could use another tip to do the flooding or the center of it if you want, but it works quite well just doing it with a writing tip. I tapped it on the countertop a little bit to smooth it out and I set them aside for a few minutes. Now for the penguins, I took some black jelly beans, dipped them just slightly into some white candy melts, or you could use white chocolate, just to get a little oval shape on the jelly bean. And once you take them out of the white candy melts, you might have a little peak on them, so I just kind of lightly tap them on the surface of the cutting board just to flatten it a little bit. And then I let them set in the refrigerator. Now for the penguin feet, I'm using little carrot-shaped sprinkles. I just cut the one end off that had the carrot leaves on it and then added the penguin. Now the frosting on here is still liquid. It's set on the top, but it's still liquid inside, so everything sticks nicely to it. And then before it's set, I added in some little marks, like the little penguin was skating and was leaving marks behind, or skiing. And then I added 2 little eyes with some white candy melts, and then a little beak with some orange candy melts. I just use a piping bag and I just cut a tiny, tiny little hole on the end to make the beaks. And then finally, using some black frosting and a tiny writing tip, I added the center of the eyeballs. And that's all there is to it. These I thought were just absolutely adorable. I thought they turned out great, and they look great when they're in a whole bunch of them on the countertop. Now you could probably make these a little bit more Christmassy by adding some little candy Christmas trees on these cookies if you wanted to, or put a little Santa hat on top of the penguins. That would be nice too. Now on to the snowman. Now if you look at these cookies, you'll understand why I love this recipe so much for these particular cookies. They hold their shape so nice when they're baking. You get all those great details. So for the snowman, I did an outline around the square, and then I filled in the center. You fill in a little bit, and then if you shake it, it'll fill in some of those gaps so you can use a little bit less frosting. And then I decided to add some snowflakes. I found these little snowflake sprinkles at the bulk barn, but I'm sure they're available at any place that sells cake decorating supplies, especially around Christmas time. Now I'm going to draw in the snowman. So do a snow head and then a middle part and then the bottom part. Now I'm using candy melts for this, but the candy melts that I had were really kind of thick and they weren't runny. So the surface of the snowman ended up kind of lumpy. So I could have used more royal frosting for the snowman if I wanted to, or I could have used candy melts that maybe weren't quite as lumpy. So they didn't turn out quite as smooth as I wanted them to, but they're still cute. So I drew the snowman and then the snow field under it, and then I added one of those little carrot shaped candies for a nose. And then I used black frosting to do the smile and the little stick arms. And it's a little snowman looking up and being very happy because it's snowing. Now, I could have put those snowflake sprinkles on after I drew the snowman. That probably would have made more sense. As someone I showed these cookies to thought that they looked a little bit like Snoopy characters. You know when Snoopy or one of the Snoopy characters are dancing and they're happy? They're kind of all looking up and you can kind of see their noses, the outline of their faces when they're looking up. He thought that they kind of look like that a little bit, and I kind of agree with him. These are really, really sweet. You could make all different colored backgrounds. You don't have to do blue if you don't want to. And there they are. The royal frosting dries quite nicely so that it's not sticky anymore, and you can just stack the cookies after you're done. When I put these cookies all together like this for photographs, my husband said that it reminded him of a comic strip, and I probably could have done snowmen in all different kinds of arm positions and it would look like it was moving. So actually that's kind of a cute idea. Here is another idea for really cute little snowman cookies. If you're interested, go ahead and click on your screen, and thank you so much for watching.